Welcome back to the Health Minute. This will probably be another 7 o'clock talk at some point in time. We'll just play it for you. So, Jessica is wearing her Austin Bat shirt.
If you haven't, well, if you haven't been to Austin and you're a natural person, I know it's a big city, but they have the largest urban bat colony. It's a maternity colony, meaning it's all mothers with babies, and they live under their bridge from March to September. The babies come out in July, and there is 1.5 million of them. And they come out every single night, and I get super excited about bats. I love them, and this was so fascinating. So go to Austin and see the bats.
Check out the bats. Go eat at the Odd Duck, Hop Dotty, do the ghost tour. It's a great time. So, tonight we're going to talk about artificial sweeteners and sugar substitutes. And they have now been directly linked to cardiovascular events. And we'll kind of talk about how that happens. But we have said when I started 30 years ago and artificial sweeteners were in there, and I only knew a little bit about like nutrition and the microbiome and stuff. I always said stay away from the artificial stuff. There's not enough long term studies. And just because something has been given GRAS status, generally recognized as safe, in America, it doesn't mean it is. Do you,
Well,
do you want to tell them what GRAS status is?
no, but I will get on my soapbox for a minute. So I worked the floor for 13 plus years, and artificial sweeteners are terrible. First of all, they're neurotoxins. I mean, we're going to tell you that they're linked to strokes and heart attacks, but they're neurotoxins. So somebody that drinks a lot of unsweet or like sweetening their things with NutraSweet or whatever the other ones are, erythritol, xylitol, what saccharin. I don't even know if saccharin's a thing anymore. Did they pull that one?
I
Anyway,
think they pulled
and
that because
they
it was
get
linked to
numbness and tingling in
cancer.
their fingers. It is a neurotoxin. But having worked the floor, we any nurse out there that's going to hear this story are going to be like, yeah, that because every single person got the same meal regardless of whether they were cardiac. If they were cardiac, they just didn't get salt. They got the spice substitute like the Mrs. Dash. If they were diabetics, they have the pink packet on their tray instead of regular sugar, but they still got the rolls and the pies and the desserts and all the other things, and then you were just going to cover that with insulin or whatever it is that they were taking. And we have issues. Our healthcare system just has issues, and so we are compounding the problem of diabetes with heart disease when we push artificial sweeteners on people that should be watching their sugars.
I read Terry Walls's book, The Walls Protocol, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when it came out. And she stated in her book that the practice of medicine. So basically, when you go to the hospital, when you go to your doctor, that is the practice of medicine. That was 17 years behind the research. And just recently, I was listening to, but I'm not going to say who I was listening to because I don't remember if it's exactly them or not. But I was listening to a doctor being interviewed, and he said that same thing. He goes, but now they're 31 years behind the research because so much research is coming out, and we stay in the past. We were just talking about LDLs and cholesterol, and we've been talking about those things now for even since Jessica's come into the practice 5 years ago. We were talking about NMRs, and 7 years ago, 2018. So 7 years ago, now we might get one person coming in who's had an NMR but usually most of the docs around here don't know what an NMR is. That's not a slam against them because legally they have to follow a protocol. The protocols have not been updated. So, what happens? Oh, and one other thing. I talked about GRAS status. In America, we consider chemicals and food additives that have been shown not to actually kill somebody immediately. They are generally recognized as safe
Until proven not. But
until
you're eating them until they're proven not.
in other countries, it's just the opposite. You have to prove to them with a long-term study that this is safe. And that is why so many of our foods cannot be sold in other countries and or not sold in the form that they are sold here.
Well, and a lot of those are food dyes because we want colors in our food. Well, you should want color in your food, but not from food dyes. You should want naturally colored food, whole foods.
Yep. So what they found with the artificial sweeteners is the like saccharin and that stuff's been linked to cancer and has been for a long time, and you really don't see saccharin or those types of things very much anymore. Now they're starting to look at the sugar alcohols. And we've been saying for a long time, these have not been studied enough. We're not sure about them. I would avoid them. I do avoid them. She avoids them.
Well, and if you're not sure what a sugar alcohol is, it's usually the sugar-free things that feel really cool on your tongue and will give you raging diarrhea if you eat
A lot of them.
several of them. And that should tell you something.
The other thing is if you look on the ingredients, anything that ends in OL, all is an alcohol. So if you see xylitol, erythritol, that OL on the end indicates it's an alcohol group. It's an OH. So that what they found when they were looking at this is when you eat erythritol or you eat xylitol, it acutely stimulates the clot forming effect. So for people who are obese, who already have high blood pressure, who already have several things going wrong with the cardiovascular system, the last thing you want to do is to stimulate more clot forming activity. And yet, what do we tell people? Hey, eat this, avoid the calories, avoid the sugar, avoid the insulin.
Well, actually, we don't do that. That's the problem here.
Well,
So
we do.
we do, but as a whole, the medical system does not. There's very few people that actually see a dietitian or a nutritionist. Most of the education comes from the nurses on the floor, and even though they hopefully know better, they don't have the time to do the education. But they tell you to watch your sugars. They don't tell you how to watch your sugars, and they don't go through and discuss that you need to get rid of the sugars from your diet and eat whole natural food.
And I can tell you right now, when we were out this weekend, I did not watch my gluten. I actually had a couple of drinks, and I did not get any adverse side effects. I didn't get the itchy arm. I didn't do anything. But I only had 2 incidences. And so then cleaned myself up. We actually were flying on Sunday, and we didn't even eat all day Sunday until we got home Sunday evening. So started kind of a fast at that. And interestingly enough, we were in Austin, Texas. When I came back, even having had alcohol, it didn't throw my fluids and my cells off. the sources of food that we ate there. Everything was pastured, grass fed. Their restaurants cook that way, and they cook with 100% natural
Well,
tallow.
the restaurants that we eat
Pig,
at.
yes.
So you can find a McDonald's
Oh
or
yeah.
a White Castle or whatever, but you have to make choices, and choices cost. So you either pay more money on the front end or you pay it on the back end. But I would rather eat good food and not need insulin, hopefully, in my future.
Well, and you ate the tallow and stuff, and really didn't have any ill effects, other than you
Oh.
didn't want fried food the second night because we don't
Yeah,
eat a
I'm
lot of
I'm not
fried
a
food.
big fried food person, but getting back to our diabetics and things, you shouldn't be eating sugar, and carbs are sugars. Carbs will break down to sugars. So you shouldn't be eating candies and desserts and pastas and breads. And you shouldn't be covering those things with insulin. You should be eliminating the things that cause the insulin spike. And so you should be eating lean proteins, fresh vegetables, preferably the green ones, so that they don't have sugars. You shouldn't be eating um, a lot of the fruits, such as bananas and grapes. You need the fiber rich fruit, but please don't drink fruit juice.
Oh God, no. And so when they were doing this, they saw that there was a direct correlation between the higher the xylitol level, the higher the cardiac event incidence.
And it's actually healthier for a diabetic to find local raised honey and just sweeten the things that they like with a honey.
And so the thing to watch out about the sugar alcohols, which if you watch our other one that we talk about, the ketogenic diet and the cholesterol levels and stuff like that, a lot of the sugar alcohols are keto friendly. And so you do not want to be consuming the sugar alcohols on a ketogenic diet because it causes issues in the blood clotting, and you don't want that. Why would you do all that work and try to do all of those good things for yourself and then destroy it? So basically, if you want to decrease your incidence of thromboses and other complications, cardiac complications, we have to actually decrease the use of these artificial sugar sweeteners or these sugar alcohols as well.
Well, and to your point of the blood clotting, that those are strokes. So when we're talking about heart disease and things associated with this, also think about strokes. Everybody always thinks about heart attacks, but think about strokes.
So this says um, one reason experts remain cautious in the fact that sweetener consumption can vary widely from person to person. Some drink several diet beverages a day or frequently snack on sugar-free treats.
Well, and in our practice, we find that most of the people that drink these things are only drinking these things. They never drink water. They literally only drink uh,
Correct.
diet sodas.
And in our practice, we see a high correlation between hip replacement, knee replacement, joint replacement with people who consume diet beverages. So, guidelines about upper intake levels were developed when long term cardiovascular outcomes were less clear. Now, these studies may prompt new evaluations on how all sugar alcohols have or behave in those with high risk of clots. Whether someone chooses sugar alternatives for weight management or portion control, these details introduce fresh reasons to check in with your healthcare provider. So basically, you know, I wanted sweetness last night. And so I went to the cupboard and I pulled out a couple of the coconut yogurts, and then I added a little bit of honey to that, and then I added some. We had some granola in there, and that was my sweet snack, and that worked for me.
But be careful the honey that you buy, especially if you're buying it in the store, because honey flavored and actual honey is two different things, and a lot of times they will cut them with high fructose corn syrup and things like that. So we buy all of our honey locally from farmers, and so we know exactly what we're getting. And if you are going to spend your money on honey, spend your money to the local uh, bee farmers and
Yep.
get something that's good for you that will also help. Honey is just good for all kinds of things and will help with allergies if you're an allergy person.
So this study is done by earth.com. It was published on March 20th of this year, and the full study was published in the Journal of Arterial Sclerosis, Thrombosis, and Vascular Biology. So if you want to check that out, that's where it's at. I will also try to put that into the description, and that way you can do your own research. Feel free to ask us questions. You can reach us at mrsindianabackdoc@gmail.com, Dr. Miller, Dr. Miller at integratedhealthofindiana.com. You can check us out on the web at integratedhealthofindiana.com. And if you want to do a 20-minute consult, feel free to call Tina up, 812-346-1757, and we can get that scheduled so we can help you start to hit your health goals, whatever they may be. If it's just losing a few pounds, or is it being able to perform as you get older in a longevity practice type way. And when we talk about longevity, we talk about actually being able to go out and ride your bike and be with your grandchildren, play soccer with them. We want you to be experiencing life, not in a chair watching life happen around you. Thank you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for taking this time to look into the health of you and your loved ones. This broadcast does not constitute a doctor patient relationship. It is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a replacement or substitute for care. If you are having issues, please seek a qualified professional trained in functional medicine. We would be happy to be of assistance with both in person and virtual consultations. Thank you.